It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Emily, a curious and adventurous girl, decided to spend the day at the local amusement park with her friends, Lily and Sarah. The park was known for its thrilling rides, from the towering Ferris wheel to the spine-chilling roller coasters. But there was one ride that stood out from the rest, a massive, ornate carousel that seemed to glow with an eerie, otherworldly light. Despite its beauty, no one ever rode it. The carousel was shrouded in whispers and warnings, tales of those who had dared to ride it and never returned. "Don't even think about it, Emily," Lily warned, her voice trembling. "That carousel is cursed. Everyone who rides it, they just disappear." But Emily was drawn to it. The carousel's horses were intricately carved, their eyes glinting like they were alive. The music that played from it was hauntingly beautiful, a melody that seemed to call out to her. Ignoring her friend's pleas, Emily approached the ride. Standing beside it was a man in a dark blue suit, his face pale and expressionless. His eyes were cold, almost lifeless, and his smile sent a shiver down her spine. "Ticket, please," he said in a voice that was barely above a whisper. Emily handed him the money, and he gave her a small, tattered ticket with the number 13 scrawled on it. She chose a horse, a black stallion with red eyes that seemed to follow her as she climbed onto its back. The man in the blue suit stepped behind the control panel and started the carousel. But there was no sound of an engine, no mechanical whirring. Instead, the carousel began to spin silently, the music growing louder and more distorted. As the ride picked up speed, Emily felt a cold breeze brush against her skin. She heard something, a faint, distant crying. It was soft at first, but it grew louder, more desperate. She turned her head, trying to locate the source, but the carousel was spinning too fast. The crying turned into wailing, a chorus of voices that seemed to come from all around her. Emily's heart raced as she realized the voices were calling her name. "Emily, Emily, join us." Suddenly the horse she was riding lurched forward, its head twisting unnaturally to look at her. Its eyes glowed red, and its mouth opened, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. Emily screamed, but no sound came out. The carousel spun faster and faster, the world around her blurring into a whirl of colors and shadows. The wailing grew deafening, and she felt herself being pulled into the darkness. When the carousel finally stopped, Emily found herself in a dimly lit room. The walls were damp and covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, blue light. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and the floor was littered with broken toys and tattered clothing. But what terrified her the most were the children, dozens of them, all with pale blue skin and hollow, lifeless eyes. They stood in silence, staring at her with expressions of pity and despair. "Well, where am I?" Emily stammered, her voice trembling. One of the children, a boy with short, messy hair and a torn shirt, stepped forward. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. "You're here with us now. You rode the carousel, didn't you?" Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. But I'm not dead. I can't be." The boy's expression darkened. "Look at your hands." Emily glanced down and gasped. Her hands were no longer flesh and blood. They were blue, translucent, and cold to the touch. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive silence of the room. "You're one of us now," the boy said. "The carousel takes us. It feeds on our souls, and now you'll help it take others." Emily shook her head, refusing to believe what she was hearing. "No, there has to be a way out. I can't stay here." The boy's eyes filled with sorrow. There is no way out. Once you ride the carousel, you're trapped forever. As the reality of her situation sank in, Emily felt a wave of despair wash over her. She looked around the room at the other children who had suffered the same fate. They were all so young, so innocent. And now, they were nothing more than shadows, doomed to lure others to their doom. The boy reached out and took her hand. His touch was icy, but there was a strange comfort in it. "Come," he said, "we'll show you what to do." Emily followed him to the edge of the room, where a large, ornate mirror hung on the wall. The surface of the mirror rippled like water, and as she looked into it, she saw the carousel, still spinning, still beautiful, still calling out to unsuspecting souls. And standing beside it was the man in the blue suit, his cold eyes scanning the crowd for his next victim. "You'll help him," the boy said. "You'll help him find the next rider." Emily's heart sank as she realized the truth. She was no longer alive. She was no longer Emily. She was just another lost soul, trapped in a never-ending nightmare. And as the carousel's haunting melody filled her ears, she knew there was no escape. The man in the blue suit turned to her, his lips curling into a sinister smile. "Welcome to the carousel, Emily," he said. "Your turn will come again soon." And with that, the mirror's surface rippled once more, and Emily found herself standing beside the carousel, her blue hands clutching a tattered ticket. The man in the blue suit stepped aside, his cold eyes watching as a new group of children approached the ride. Emily's heart ached as she realized what she had to do. She held out the ticket, her voice trembling as she spoke the words she had heard so many times before. "Ticket, please." The carousel's music began to play, and the cycle continued.